So last week was a good week for liberals in that Obamacare was upheld at the Supreme Court and gay marriage was legalized nationwide, or I should say it was deemed unconstitutional to deny gay marriages because you have to grant gays equal protection under the law according to the 14th Amendment. Well, today we have bad news for liberals from the Supreme Court. So Huffington Post reports, the U.S. Supreme Court on Monday ruled in a 5-4 vote that Oklahoma may continue to use a controversial lethal injection drug during executions. They say the Oklahoma death row prisoners who brought the matter to court failed to identify a known and available alternative method of execution that entails a lesser risk of pain. Okay, so let's reflect on that. What they're saying is, the argument the Supreme Court made was, I can't believe you brought this case in front of me about the death penalty without offering an alternative for a way that they can kill you. What the fuck? What does that mean? What are you saying? That's not their job. Their job is to argue the merits of this case, the case that they're involved in, the case that they brought to you. But the Supreme Court is like, I don't get it. You're bringing a case in front of me, but you don't have an alternative way for them to kill you? So they're saying, oh, great, you're against this lethal injection. Well, even if we rule against the lethal injection, the state should still be able to kill you in another way. I find the conservatives on the Supreme Court comically stupid because they just make things up and they act like, you know, of course it's supposed to be like this. But it's not. He's bringing a case, yes, about, you know, lethal injections and how this lethal injection is unconstitutional. It doesn't mean it's his responsibility to then give you an alternative. And also, by the way, if you rule that this lethal injection is unconstitutional, that should mean that all the states that have this form of lethal injection should have it slapped down. And then it's up to them, the states, if they want to or can come up with a new way of executing that wouldn't, in a fantasy world, be cruel and unusual punishment. But I find the conservatives on the Supreme Court hilarious, that they think this is convincing. Like, oh, so you think it's unconstitutional for the government to execute you that way? Well, give me another way you want them to execute you. Guillotine, maybe? Gas chamber? Please, take your pick. We'll give you a menu. So the case centered around the drug midazolam, which is a drug that's fairly new to executions. And it was introduced since the European company, which made the old lethal injection cocktail, stopped producing it for ethical reasons. They said, we don't want to partake in this anymore. So they stopped making it, and then states in the U.S. were like, well, fuck, we got to keep killing people. We got to find a new way, I guess. Let's get some diesel fuel, some Clorox, maybe some nail polish remover, shake it up and whatnot. Of course, they didn't say that. But, I mean, the idea was, oh, we can't get the official lethal injection drug anymore? Great, now let's fuck around and find a new way to kill people. Not kidding. They were like, should we try that pharmaceutical and that one right there? People are like, I don't know, let's try it. Oh, goddamn. So the majority opinion is, again, pretty comical. Alito said, the prisoners also failed to show that a large dose of the drug entails a substantial risk of severe pain. I don't know what fucking court case they were in. I wasn't even in the courtroom, but I know, based on various news stories, there were at least 3 different cases where this led to massive complications and torture, essentially, before death. And here's my personal favorite. This court has never invalidated a state's chosen procedure for carrying out a sentence of death as the infliction of cruel and unusual punishment. That's what one of the conservative judges said. Well, that's irrelevant to the current question, isn't it? He's like, we've never ruled before against any particular kind of way of killing people. And that doesn't mean you can't rule it now. Why are you not looking at the merits of this case? And then Alito also said this amounts to a, quote, guerrilla war on the death penalty. Well, I hope so. I hope it does, because the 8th Amendment protects from cruel and unusual punishment. Killing somebody isn't cruel. I would argue it's pretty cruel. Killing somebody isn't unusual. By definition, it's unusual. The majority of modern nations do not have the death penalty anymore. It is unusual. No, I've had enough of these fucking clowns, man. It's not even like they disagree with us, but they give decent arguments. They disagree with us, and they're having verbal diarrhea in a comical way in front of the world. Again, one of the arguments was you haven't proven that this is a substantial risk for you to be in severe pain. I just told you 3 or 4 cases in the past 6 months or a year. They've used this drug, and there's been massive complications. One of them, a guy was fucking foaming at the mouth and making noises for like 40 minutes afterwards. It was so bad that after they did the lethal injection to him, they called off the death, the killing. They called off the sentence. So after they injected the drug, they're like, this isn't working. We better call this off. So they called it off, and then the guy ended up dying. And they're like, oh, we meant that to happen. Oh my God! This is the United States of America. 8th Amendment protection from cruel and unusual punishment. You're injecting them with a drug that's torturing them before they die. And you have the nerve to say, you haven't proven that this is a substantial risk? Get the fuck out of here. You're just, you know what it is? They have their mind made up. That's it. That's all it is. That's all it is. Their mind is made up on the side of the death penalty, so it doesn't matter what evidence you present. They're going to say, no,